You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 60. This week on the show, we get you caught up with the last couple weeks. Dan and I have been spending some time in the whitetail woods, so we get you caught up on that, and we look forward to the waterfowl season. All right, welcome to the 60th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. We are your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. Catch up on all the past episodes there. You can also find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. If you're into iTunes, you can go there and check out all the episodes, and you can hit the subscribe button and get all the episodes pushed out to you automatically. And you can catch us on a bunch of other podcast platforms, Stitcher and things like that. So check us out wherever fine podcasts are found. Joining me this week, as he always does, is Daniel Harushka. Dan, what's up, man?
Not too much. It's mid-November and pretty much just been getting my van ready for wintertime.
Yeah, so much winterization going on with the van. But, Dan, we've been off for a couple weeks here. Just a kind of a combination of things between family obligations and hunting seasons and work obligations and all that good stuff. It's been kind of tough to get on, get time synced up here where we could record something. But what have you been up to, man? I know you've been spending some time in the whitetail woods, as have I. So how you been doing there?
Yeah, man. Well, it's been a mix of things. The twins had their birthday, so between the birthday party and usually we record on like a Friday night or weekend, so that kind of took up the whole one weekend. And then the wife, we've just had this sickness going through our house, and I apologize if
you sound terrible.
If I sound worse than what I usually do.
You're really gonna hate your voice this week.
But man, just so nasally. But it's a nonstop cough. My wife's been coughing for like a week straight, and I feel bad for her because it's like a painful cough. And I had it for a little bit, but the shivers and everything came with it. But I made it out into the woods a few times, and the last day for some reason it always seems to be good for me. So, Last Day Dan might be a new nickname because it seems to happen. But yeah, I dropped a nice 9-point on the last day, 7:20 in the morning. And I actually checked my trail cameras today, and that buck was chasing a doe at 12:02 a.m. So right at midnight, he was chasing a doe, and he was still chasing a doe at 7:20 when I shot him. The doe brought him right to 20 yards at my stand. So it was a good quick morning, and got some pictures and took them to the processor. So some good old fashioned protein in the freezer there.
Yeah, that's awesome. We, I'm not the world's biggest deer hunter anymore, but I dusted off the old bow, and also did a little freezer filling over the last couple of weeks. I shot 2 does actually, same night. About an hour apart. And, that was good to get those. I was trying to think about this. I don't think I've killed a deer since, I think the last deer I shot was in 2012, I think. So, it was kind of something I hadn't done in a little while, and kind of felt good to do. But as I mentioned, waterfowl season here in Virginia starts on Wednesday this coming week. So I'm pretty much shifting gears now and put the bow back up for another 2 or 3 years, and get ready to get back into it. And that's actually kind of the issue of this episode. We don't really have a whole heck of a lot concrete stuff to talk about, but there are there's a few things we wanted to touch on and just kind of see where it goes this week. And I think one of the bigger things that are happening right now, sort of in the waterfowl world, is the the Waterfowl Festival in Easton, Maryland was this past weekend, which is, for the folks here on the East Coast is one of the bigger shows we've got as far as waterfowl and specifically the competition calling that goes on. And Trevor Shanahan, who, former guest of this show, won the World Goose Calling Championship, which was pretty cool to see. That's one that he's really kind of battled for. He's won the live competition a couple times and, does really well, across the spectrum in competition calling, and finally checked that one off as probably a real good one for him. He's an Eastern Shore guy, and he's from there, so always like to see him doing well on his home turf there.
Yeah, I think that has to be weight off his shoulders, because I think he came in. I mean, he makes jokes about I'll be in second or third place, so I think that's happened more than what he's cared for, and it is cool to see him finally stand up top. I saw the video, and he was pretty elated with the win, and he won by like 5 points, so he's top of his game right now for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been doing really well. All summer long, kind of on the little circuit, so to speak. So, and another thing that kind of came out of this, and I thought it was pretty cool because, we get a lot of questions on this, Facebook and all these other places about calls and, what to buy and all this other stuff. And there's a guy who won the live goose calling competition, and he's actually won it 2 years in a row now. So this is the second year, David Coleman. And I thought it was interesting that because he actually won that competition using a tube call, which, you don't see many people using anymore. But, I kind of thought about that, and I thought, man, it just goes to show you that it's not the call. The call only gets you so far. It's the old saying, it's not the tool, it's the craftsman, or whatever the heck that, the cliche is or whatever. But, it just goes to show you that, instead of spending so much time deliberating over which call to get, it's so much more important to focus on how to call. You can make, I've seen videos. If you want to, if you need to see this any more in proof, you can YouTube, search Trevor Shanahan on YouTube, and he's got a video on there where he bought a $30 field proven polycarbonate Raptor call, pulls it right out of the bag, that comes in the mail. He said he'd bought it as a gift for his dad, and he pulls that thing out and just runs it like he's on the comp stage, and it sounds amazing. And guys think that you need to buy a $100 goose call or a $100 duck call and acrylic and all this other junk with the broken guts and this, that, and the other. And it really does boil down to just being able to run the call and knowing how to do it. And, if you got that part of it, you can make any call sound good. So I'm not saying that anybody needs to be Trevor Shanahan level, but my point is, if you focus on some of the basics and, the fundamentals of how to run a call, takes a lot of the pressure off of which call you're actually running. And you can use, which one you can afford, or which one that looks nice to you, or which one fits good in your hand, or whatever the case might be. You know what I mean? But there is no one silver bullet that, if you don't know how or don't have the fundamentals down, where you just buy that call and all of a sudden you're going to sound a lot better. It's just not going to work out that way.
Yeah, the live goose guy, what's his name? Coleman? Last name Coleman?
Yeah, David Coleman. Yeah.
That sounds incredible. But yeah, going back to that, I'm sure Trevor was using power calls. They laid that out here recently. Yep. And but before that, he was making his own calls, the black timber calls, and and like you said, that the polycarb video, that's just ridiculous. So it, like you said, it goes to show you that it just fine tune what you can do, and if you don't have to impress the judges, you have to impress the birds. So you can get it done with probably any call if you know how to call.
Yeah, no doubt. And, that's one thing that you hear a lot of. Oh, I don't call to judges. I call to birds and all that kind of good stuff. And I think I talked about this, back in the day about, it was either with Kelly Powers or with Trevor when we had him on the show, or maybe I even brought it up with both. But
Stairway to Heaven.
I look at competition. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's just being a master of your craft. And, the point up there is to not, it's not like you're calling in a lone, honker or something like that. I mean, it's the art of the ability to call and the sounds and the control, and all that kind of stuff. It's just awesome. I mean, it's one of those things where, I know a lot of people can probably relate to this. If you're at like Gander Mountain or Bass Pro or Cabela's, or you're an outdoor show, right? You hear lots of people messing with calls. You might hear somebody scratching on a slate, or, somebody, turkey clucking or working on a duck call or whatever. But when you're walking around and you hear somebody that knows what they're doing with their goose call, I mean, to me, at least for me, it catches my attention immediately. I'm like, man, someone's running that call. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking around. I want to see who that is. Cause it's just one of those things where, there's people that can use a goose call, and then there's people that can use a goose call. And, to be in that control of the call is really cool. And I'm certainly jealous of it and wish that I was, that I was that good at it. But, yeah, I'm a big fan of competition calling. I know a lot of people, there are people out there that aren't as big of fans, but, I just don't see how, if you're a goose hunter or a duck hunter, how being able to control a call to that level is not something that you would want to aspire to. Now, if you ever want to get on the competition stage and use it in that regard, I don't know, probably, whatever, but having the ability to manipulate the call with such control and such precision is just, super cool in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, I wanted to bring up, I was doing a little research before we got on here, and, I just Google waterfowl news and what's recent. And the second article that came up is from the Gleaner, which is out of Kentucky. And the headline is, waterfowl season needs cooler weather.
Oh, jeez, here we go.
It's out of Kentucky, and it just talked about how hot their summer was, and they open up Thanksgiving for duck season, so it just made me laugh, and I had to bring that up. I didn't read the entire thing. Here's another. The bad thing about shooting that buck. So I think I told you I have a astigmatism now, so I wear glasses most of the time, and I really don't like contacts. So I had my glasses on, shot the buck, and we were sitting there and taking a couple pictures where I took my glasses off and set them down, and then I lost them, and then I picked them back up, and they were fine. So I put them on a branch. Well, then after we were done with the little photo shoot, I couldn't find my glasses, and they were absolutely crushed. So I have been well, and then on top of that, how awesome my immune system is. And I am allergic to white-tailed deer. I'm allergic to the dander. So if I touch deer, like the fur, I'll break out in hives, and my eyes get completely bloodshot. So I'm sitting there, and I found my glasses. They were crushed. Both lenses broken out, and the frames were busted. So I'm like, this is completely amazing. So I get back to the house. My eyes are bloodshot. I get in a shower, get cleaned up. I take the deer to the processor, and I drag it out. So then again, my eyes are bloodshot. They're already blurry, and it looks like I'm just high as a kite with my son in the back of my truck dropping a dead deer off. But anyway, to my point, I didn't put contacts in because the wife said that they would probably irritate it even more. So I didn't read the entire article, and that was a very long story for a short point.
But, I mean, let's just back up here a minute. I mean, people are, I guess, I don't know. Maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but, I'm on the record as saying, obviously when you're looking at the DU migration app and every stinking post on there says, we need cool weather. We get it. Like, we know how the migration works, right? Birds will only migrate as far as they have to to survive, food, water, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if it's not cold, like they're not going to move. They don't do it just because like that's what they do. They do it because they have to, right? I mean, I don't get it. Like it's just the ultimate Captain Obvious thing for me. A little, pet peeve, whatever. But
just anticipation, man. They wanted to get here. They wanted to see the birds.
Yeah. Oh man. But in Pennsylvania, I got to tell you, I think Pennsylvania is the 1 seed on asking for cold fronts. I mean, every time I look at the DU app and it's got, look at PA posts, I mean, it's just one after the other.
Right. And I know when you start asking if I'm making up aliases just to put on bring the cold front.
Well, it was Linesville. I mean, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, not I. I haven't posted on there for a while. I usually am not totally truthful, but anyway.
I don't think I've ever posted on there.
I did one time, but I used my real name.
I think I was with you that one time you did it.
Probably.
In fact, at least I think you did do it one time when I was with you. You may have done it before, but so yeah, anyway, I mean, we're finally starting to get some cooler weather here, but that's another thing too. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is here. It's what's north of you is what matters, right? So, you don't need a cold front. You need Canada to have cold fronts, right. And you need northwest winds, at least in our neck, in our areas and stuff. That's what we need to get birds down here. But I haven't even really worried about it. I mean, our season, just comes in this week. And the bulk of our season doesn't, so it's in for like a week or two, then it goes out for a little bit again. So the bulk of our season is like the mid part of December through the end of January, in some parts into February for geese. So we got plenty, we got time for cold fronts, all that kind of stuff. But I am seeing some new geese moving into the area. Not so many ducks yet, but seeing some new geese kind of moving in around my neighborhood. So that's encouraging. But
I tell you, the last day of no, it wasn't the last day of early goose. It was the last time I was out for goose. It was a while back already, but we had migrators flying over us. We didn't kill anything, but that was good to see. We saw, I think, 4 big knots, and they were real high, mile high, heading south. So that was better than a month ago already.
Yeah, time flies, man. I mean, it's like, it's going to be Thanksgiving here in a minute and Christmas before we know it. But, hey, something I wanted to talk about this week, actually, and it seems like we kind of hit this on an annual basis or sometimes more than that. But when I was kind of looking, I don't know if I saw this on Facebook or where I saw it, but this was back in October. This article is dated October 23rd. It says authorities recover bodies of duck hunters in Lake St. Clair. And of course we always, hate to see this. And I think unfortunately a lot of people associate the dangers of duck hunting in cold weather and stuff like that till late in the year, December, January, February, when it's really cold and ice and all that kind of stuff. But the dangers do exist, even earlier in the season. If you're out in big water with too small of boats and things like that. So, I just want to sort of take this opportunity to tell everyone, again, just sort of be careful, right? I mean, there's no duck out there that's worth your life. And, make sure you're doing the right things, personal flotation devices, ways to communicate, letting people know where you're going, all that kind of stuff, looking at your weather forecast, watching the wind, all that kind of stuff is important. I hate seeing these articles about duck hunters and stuff, but unfortunately I'm afraid that, this probably won't be the last one that we see this year. It seems like every year, you see them and it's just unfortunate. So want everyone to just try to, be smart about it. And, when in doubt, it's not worth it. So
yeah, and
just something
abide by the laws. If you're in, I don't know if it's 12-foot vessel or less, like a kayak, you have to wear a PFD all the time, no matter what time of year it is. but definitely after November 1st in Pennsylvania, it's a law that you have to wear it if you're on the water. So I don't know if other states have that. They should. But, we hate seeing this, and unfortunately we see it at least once a year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, we see it, right here where I'm at on the Potomac River, almost once a year. It seems like you see it. But, so just kind of think through that a little bit as you, kind of get into your duck season here, and, it's cold, getting cooler. So you'll see guys heading out to the big water for divers, and, some of y'all may be out chasing sea ducks and stuff like that right now. And, it's just dangerous business, especially if you're trying to push it with like a kayak or something like that. Just got to be really careful and be smart about, what you're doing.
I feel like this is kind of a recap episode, but that's okay because it's very relevant information. And I have a guy, the next thing I want to talk about, I have a Facebook friend. He's from Tennessee, and he drove to Missouri, and he on a guided hunt. So he's going out for, ducks and geese and whatever else he can get into. So he goes out to this, he gets out there, shows up to a parking lot where he's supposed to meet the guide, and he ends up, it's him and a buddy and 7 other hunters that are supposed to be meeting this guy, all from different states. So they paid he said they paid $5,700, and they totaled it up, and it came to close to $40,000 that these 9 guys had sent to this outfitter that never showed up. So there's 9 guys out there looking for a spot to hunt, and this guy just totally ripped them off, obviously not picking up calls or anything like that. But, we talked about checking references before, and, making sure people are legit. I was
going to say, I hope you referred your Facebook friend to our episode on how to pick an outfitter.
Oh my gosh. I saw that and just got sick. I couldn't imagine. I mean, can you imagine you, like me and you, going $5,700? And
well, hold the phone here. He paid $5,700. Is that a deposit, or was that the hunt in full?
It must have been the hunt in full.
Well, there's his first mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
Well, you would think, because a Tony Vandemore hunt, that would be about the cost for 2 guys, right?
Yeah, I think that would be my guess. Yeah. But I mean, how do you not, how do you invest that kind of money into a hunt out of state and not do some research, right? That just seems, because for that amount of money, you can hunt at Habitat Flats. I mean, or something like that.
I was tempted to say you should have just went to Vandemore's place, but I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, obviously that sucks. I mean, that does suck. And, obviously, hopefully that guy gets what's coming to him, and they, have some legal recourse there. But, dang, man, I mean,
that's a lot of cash.
I hate to second guess anybody, because I do stupid stuff too, but it just seems like that, something got missed along the way there. I don't know.
It's like an episode of that. Come on, man. You gotta know better than that. But yeah, so an update with it anyways. They did, they, obviously put it on Facebook, but they found some other guys that had a lease, and they had to pay a little bit to get on it, but at least they're, they bought their license, so they get to hunt for a few days, and hopefully they do well. But, that much money out of your pocket is going to sting for a little bit. They did call the warden and the cops, so like you said, hopefully that guy gets what's coming.
Yeah, it almost makes me think that, like, I just wonder if something happened, like if the guy really wasn't trying to pull one over on him, like, because I mean, how could you possibly think you would get away with that? You got 9 guys coming from out of state. You'd think that they're just going to show up and let $6,000 go, right? And not look into it. I mean, I'm sure they had to wire it, or, there's bank transactions. I mean, there's no way that guy gets away with it. And he must be a complete idiot
Yeah.
if he thinks that that's going to work.
Yeah. So
And it's a one-shot deal, right? I mean, it's not like you could do it again. So it's probably just some guy, thinking, one-time shot, thinks that whatever. But yeah, that's not going to work out
well,
for him.
I'm excited to see him get caught. It'll make me happy to see anyways.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff either. So hopefully he gets what's coming to him. Here's something, Dan, that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while on the show. I haven't ever brought it up that I can remember. So being that this is kind of a mixed bag show, I'd like to chat about this and see kind of what people think about it. But I've been sort of open about my self-diagnosed OCD, how I like, I just like things to be the way I like them, and one of the things I like is my lanyard to be sort of, I don't know, just work the way I like it. And I like to have the same brand of calls if I can on my lanyard that just fits my eye better. But I don't have all the same brand of calls. I've got, what do I have on there? I've got like 2 zinc calls. I've got an HP heavyweight and a foils duck call in there right now. And, I struggle with finding a lanyard that just meets all of my needs and performs the way I want it to perform. And, I've done the air traffic control paracord lanyard. I ran that all of last year. And I do like that for the most part. I've got a heavy hauler with the neoprene neck band and, kind of the drops off of the paracord braided portion. It's what I'm currently trying to work with right now. I've got just a straight up, paracord lanyard with like, two double drops at the bottom and then kind of one off the side. I've owned a ton of paracord. I've tied probably a dozen or more of my own lanyards to try to figure it out. But, I really struggle with the proper balance of the length of the lanyard as well as the number of drops and how the calls hang off the lanyard. I feel like that's a really underrated quality of a lanyard, how the calls fall. So that's something that I just have a really hard time with. And I'm curious what your position is on lanyards. And I know a lot of people are like, I'll just tie a shoelace and throw my call in there. That's fine. If that's what you do, cool. I don't do that. I can't do that. I need my lanyard to function like a piece of gear. I'm sorry, I just do. But I'm having a hard time with it, really. So I'm curious what others do and what other lanyards they like. So let me just give you a quick rundown. I love the air traffic control lanyard in general. It's probably the closest thing that I've found to the best that I have. I had to do some modifications, but like there's just small little quirks about it that I don't care for. Another like the heavy hauler with the neoprene neckband. I like that in general, but the neoprene, like in the early season, just sweats on your neck, right? Your neck just gets hot and it sweats. So I don't love that. And then when you do the drops off of the, just the circular, lanyard, I find that my calls get tangled because it's not like that center line where your calls hang on either side of it. They just all kind of hang together and they get tangled, and it irritates me to some degree. And then if you're laying in a layout blind, they kind of all tangle up. So I don't know what the answer is. But I'm curious to hear what other people do because I'm a little bit struggling with this.
So are the calls clanging together or are just a tangle problem?
The calls clang together with the heavy hauler. With the air traffic control lanyard, they don't, because I've got it set up for like 3 or 4 drops. And, I do like when the lanyard comes down and has a single drop at the bottom, and then I can stagger them on the sides to go up so they don't hit. That's one problem that I have with the heavy hauler, because they tend to not only hit a little bit, but they tangle because they're on just like a circle. So there's not like that divider, like one's not on the right and one's not on the left. And sometimes they loop over the main band, the main line, and get kind of tangled up. I don't know. I'm torn on the neoprene neck thing. I don't know if I like that or not. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know.
Man. Well, what I have right now, I actually bought down at what is that, Molly's down on the Eastern Shore, and it's a Avery lanyard, and it's I don't even know what you would call it. It's very soft around your neck, and
yeah, it's got like the fuzzy stuff on it.
Yeah,
almost, right?
and it just feels excellent, and it doesn't get hot in the early season, so I appreciate that. But it's comfortable all year long. But then it has, once it goes down, it just has like the black rings, and there's spots for four drops to come off of it. But usually I just have one goose call, one duck call, and then a whistle. So what I do is I just kind of rotate it a little bit. So then whatever we're really aiming for is at the bottom. So if we're duck hunting, then my duck call is at the bottom, and then I'll have the goose call to the right, and then the whistle to the left, and then an open one like higher up on the left, and I just rotate the neck piece a little bit, and it feels the same and it hangs the same. So it doesn't bother me. But I feel your pain right now. I like in your voice, I can tell that this is just a really big problem.
And to complicate things, I got a little bit more going on my lanyard than what you just described. So in addition to the 4 calls that I got going on, because I run 4 calls because I like a backup. Because if I get a goose call that gets stuck or froze or whatever, I need a backup. Just, or sometimes I like a different pitch or a different tone, whatever. I need a little bit of variety. But in addition to that, I've got on one side, my spinning wing decoy remote that's hanging. And then on the other side, I've got my finisher, little tool that's hanging. And I got that on like a little retractor so I can pull it out, finish off a bird and, retract it back. And, you got to worry about that because you just mash in, scramble the brains of a goose or something. You got that thing that slides back up into the retractor. Next thing you know, your duck call is swinging up and hitting against it on the mouthpiece. And it's like, you got goose brains in your mouth if you're not careful.
Duck brains for breakfast.
So,
now, I did just put the finisher on it. I did put the finisher on it, but it's just hanging on that last one, so it's not. But yeah, the remote would add some weight and would probably throw my balance off. So I guess that's one good thing to not having battery operated decoys here in PA.
I mean, it's just one of those things where I feel like I got a lot going on, and the heavy hauler feels like it's a little crowded. The air traffic control I like. The biggest issue with that lanyard, honestly, and this is so dumb, where the main lines come down together because it's like a thick paracord braid, and where they come down together at the bottom, where the drops come out, it's held together by like a cobra braid, if you're familiar with that. But it's a lot of it's like what the main line of the heavy hauler is. It's like that, just a little bit thick, like wider, flat braid. And it holds the two together, and I just don't really like that. I mean, if it was held together by like some black electrical tape, it would probably look better to me. But yeah, just that little quirk kind of keeps me with it. But I mean, that's probably stupid. I should probably just get over that, right?
I mean, we all have our things.
It does. Other than that, it kind of fits my needs for the most part.
Now I know on the Hudson, right at the top by the neck, there is an extra, like a loop up there that you could hang something off of, like a remote or something.
Yeah, I can't deal with that. I need everything on one spot. One spot.
This might take you a while.
Well, I'm actually worried that there is no perfect answer, that I'm just going to be eternally unhappy. And, I see these guys on TV and stuff, and some of them got like the leather braided things. They're like $100 or something. I'm just not going to go there.
What if that's where you need to be, though? What if that's a ticket?
I'd have to take it for a test drive. If I used it and I knew that met all of my needs, I'd spend $100 to be done with it. Because I've got better than $100 worth of lanyards in my in my gear that I've bought and I don't use. They just lay there because I tried them out, and and I've already been through this cycle once. I used the air traffic control lanyard, ditched it, went to the heavy hauler, ditched it, went back to the air traffic controller and stuck with it all last season. And then I even stuck with it in the early season this year. And for whatever reason, just on a whim, I changed it up, went back to the heavy hauler. I don't know why. I don't know.
And now for the listeners out there, like, this is not just a piece to fill time. Like, I will get random text messages about lanyards and how unhappy Josh is with what he's currently using. Like, this happens multiple times a year, so it is a problem.
And I'm just wondering if I'm
problem.
I'm just wondering if I'm on an island here. I kind of think I am, because I don't see many people, talking about this, and I don't know. The one thing that I did see, though, so there are some lanyards out there. I know Rogers makes one, Cabela's makes one, Sean Mann makes one, Banded makes one, where it's a neoprene neck, and then it comes down and feeds one main drop on the bottom, and then you can branch off of the sides. So that could probably work if I'm sold on the neoprene neck.
I was going to say.
Which I'm not,
because it's too hot.
Well, okay, so you use a neoprene neckband on your lanyard. It's hot in September when you're hunting teal and geese. So that stinks because your neck just sweats. And then when it gets cold and you got a jacket on, you throw the neoprene outside the jacket, or at least I do. I don't wear it on my bare skin. I keep everything outside. So what's the point of having it, right? I mean, is there a compelling reason to have a neoprene neckband, or is it just like, I don't know. What would be the benefit?
I don't know. Maybe majority do wear it on their neck. Maybe they like it.
Well, I guess you'd have to but I mean, then you could never zip your jacket up all the way. You got I don't know. That wouldn't work for me. No doubt. That would not work for me. But anyway, yeah. So everyone out there listening, if you've got a lanyard that you're a big fan of, and please, I'm going to respectfully just ask, don't offer to make one or whatever. I mean, I've made a million of them. It's not that. It's just, there's a product out there that works. I'm hoping. If not, I'll just eternally be unhappy, I guess. I don't know. But if you've got one that you think would meet all of these needs, let me know. But I kind of think that maybe altering the air traffic control lanyard is probably the way I need to be. And maybe I just need to go back and look at the website. Maybe there's a different style that he makes or something that I can buy. But I mean, they're like $25 or $35 a pop. So, I'm not in the business of buying them too often.
Yeah, man. Well, I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just something kind of intriguing to me. And it's about Alaska. And I've seen a couple guys, on Facebook going up to Alaska lately. And, they have some good numbers up there. So they got some increases. With snows, they went from 4 to 6 birds. Cans, they went from 1 to 2. Brant, they went 2 to 3. But something that I found interesting is that avian flu has never been detected in Alaska. And I was talking to you before the show. I don't know if it's because there's not shallow water that gets infected, or just the major numbers of, traveling birds that go through that get sick. And I don't know. It seemed very fresh to me.
Well, I mean, the birds that breed up that way are going to migrate down the Pacific Flyway likely, or into the Central Flyway to some degree.
But that's where most of that
they're gonna
avian
be
was last
exposed to
year.
Right. So they're going to be exposed to that. So maybe they just die before they can make the trip back there.
That's a good. That's
I
a good
don't
thought.
know. But I mean, they're migrating to the same places, you would think, and being exposed to the same stuff. So unless they're just dying before they can get back up there, I don't know what would be the explanation. Do they have as robust testing program? I mean, I know last year there was like, game wardens and stuff at the boat launches testing harvested birds.
Yeah, I mean,
randomly.
they mentioned
here in Virginia. I mean,
they mentioned how, I mean, they kind of boasted about how waterfowlers keep everything clean in all their boats and not transferring stuff and everything like that. But I mean, that's not going to make that big of a difference when it comes to migrating waterfowl. So I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I remember talking about it last year. There were like 40,000 birds that dropped dead out of the air, and I was out in a Pacific Flyway somewhere. So,
right. Yeah. I thought those ones though, they were talking about how they got on like some bad fertilizer or something, right?
Yeah.
Because they were worried because all the bald eagles were eating all the dead carcasses, and they thought they might poison a bunch of the eagles.
Right. Yeah.
Could be. I don't know. There was something else. Oh, that's what I was going to say. One last thing here. I'm interested to hear from anyone out there listening to this that's either in a hunt club or runs a hunt club. I'd like to hear from you as far as goods and positives and negatives. Kind of how you have it structured. How do you go about doing it? And sort of how large are we talking? Are we talking a club that's like 5 people or a club that's like 100 people? Just like to hear some people in that. Been talking to a few guys here recently about pursuing this perhaps and getting something set up, and just like to hear from some people that have done it or are doing it, and lessons learned kind of thing and best way to go about it. So if you're involved in a hunt club or something like that, hit us up. Let us know. Social media, whatever's fine. Email info@hpoutdoors.com, whatever. Shoot us a note. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it, and just trying to think about how, because I mean, again, it's like one of those things where in my mind, I think, it could work this way and this would be fine or whatever, but you just never know until you're into the situation and you have that issue come up and you're like, ooh, I never even thought about that. So if you've got some of that stuff, let us know. I'd like to chat with you about that.
Like driving to Missouri and losing $5,700.
Yeah, I think that's probably a lesson learned there, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully we're not talking that kind of situation. But anything else you got for us this week, Dan?
No, I told you the other day I drove past one of the lakes here, the local lakes, and saw a raft of coots. And usually once the coots show up, the divers are behind them. I know that from my extensive diver hunting, and still thinking about getting into that now that I have a deer in the freezer. That's my only tag for Pennsylvania, so it's back to waterfowl and making that. I need to just do it. I need to get into divers and see what we can do there. I have been seeing pictures of some local guys putting divers in the boat, so I think it's time to make that jump.
Yeah, I think it's way overdue, personally. But you were fired up for those coots the other day. I thought you were just gonna go get a good, jump shoot, rake some coots right off the water
just
swat,
water swat,
kind of just to scratch the itch. It's what it kind of sounded like. You were pretty fired up. But
well,
hey, man,
got to do it.
Yeah, coots are a great diver decoy. You could work schools at coots and pull in a bufflehead or two. You'd be in business. Maybe a merganser or two. You get a nice little mixed bag.
I did see. I was driving home from work the other day, and there's a pair of redheaded mergansers there, and I was just like, oh, divers.
Yeah. The little fish eaters, man. Those mergansers tear them up. These things are savage.
How's your fishing going lately?
So my son and I went out to a stocked pond one day. His school was closed, so I took off work and went out there, and it was one of those deals where they had just been stocked like a day or two ago, so they weren't really acclimated and feeding real heavy yet. So we didn't do too great on them. But honestly, man, it's gotten cold here, and I haven't really had a chance to do much. I want to get out this fall and get on some of these stocked trout just to learn how to fish for them on my fly rod, but I just haven't had a whole lot of time to do that quite yet. And big college football fan, so I watch football on Saturdays when and our duck season's starting up. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do want to do it. But like I said, I need another hobby. Like I need a hole in the head. It's like I don't got enough time to do the crap that I'm into now. I don't know when I'm going to find time to get heavy into fly fishing, but I'd certainly like to. But I'd like to do a lot of things. I'd like to shoot my bow more. I'd like to shoot my pistols more. I'd like to do a lot of things, but when it's warm out, my kid is big into fishing, so that's what we do. And as he gets older, I'm gonna hopefully get him into some fly fishing. So as most things go when you got kids, if you can get the kids into it, you can pretty much do it as much as you want because they're into it. So.
And speaking to that, I have a current situation. So every time I would say that I'm gonna go hunting, my one daughter, Sadie, gets super excited. She wants to go hunting with me. Dawson gets excited and he doesn't know why yet. He's a year and a half, but he just wants to be with me, so that's cool. But the older twin, Kelly, she tells me don't shoot big bucks ever. They are my pets. So I came in Saturday after I shot this buck. And I came back to get the four-wheeler to go up, and I came inside and told him I got one. She starts crying, and I actually felt bad a little bit. The other two were excited, wanted to come see it, but she was crying. And then once I went and got the buck and brought it back, she was fine and, came out and was poking it in the eyeball and stuff. But that was I feel like something I'm going to have to deal with down the road when she can really express her views, and I'm not sure how to go about that,
dude,
but
don't worry, dude. I got you. Ready? I got you on this one. It's easy. Lion King. You put on the Lion King and let old Mufasa talk about the circle of life. And that's all it takes. You're good.
Oh man.
Antelope eat the grass, we eat the antelope.
Yep.
It's that simple.
I remember that.
Telling you. Yeah, of course you do. Just makes too much sense. That's all you gotta do.
Just profound.
She's like a little Simba, you just gotta bring her along a little bit. Just be like, that shaded over place over there, just never go there. But
it's a valley of death. Don't go there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, so we've officially derailed, but yeah. All that stuff is going to be, tough for little kids. I mean, they don't understand, the taking of life and all that kind of stuff. But, it comes with time, and it's no different, when you're a kid and when you're an adult, the concept still remains the same, and, all of the things that go into harvesting game and, providing for the family and all that kind of stuff. So. Doesn't mean, well, again, she could grow up to be like a raging vegan, vegetarian person.
No chance.
Just, I mean, hey, I'm just, you better get that Lion King on ASAP. Start getting that in right now.
She's going to be eating deer hot sticks here in about a month, so we'll see.
Yeah. So someday it'll be like tofu hot sticks. It'll be awesome.
Oh. Cucumber bologna. Yeah.
Oh, the worst. The worst. All right. Anything else you want to cover here before we wrap this up? We've managed to ramble on here for almost 50 minutes, I guess, now.
No, man. I'm going to go get some cough drops and go to bed because I'm just spent.
Yeah. And this stinks because I don't know how this is going to work out schedule wise for us, because obviously next week is Thanksgiving. The hunt season gets on here, our stupid families get in the way. So it's just harder for us to, find time to be able to do this. But, we'll try to continue to do it as often as we can. But, just might not be every week. I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, life comes first and, we got other stuff that we got to deal with. So, for everyone out there that, likes to ask us when the next podcast is coming, sometimes we just don't know, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, we
don't always know.
We have more times where we schedule and just can't do it than times that we can. So it is what it is. That's one great thing about podcasting.
Yeah, that's true. Do it whenever you can. Anyway. All right. Let's punch out of here on this one. All right, appreciate you guys joining us for episode 60 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast. Get you caught up on the last couple of weeks of what we've been up to, and as we look forward to the upcoming waterfowl season, as we get into it a little heavier here, we'll do our best to keep bringing out episodes as frequently as possible. But in the meantime, enjoy your Thanksgiving, catch up on all the old episodes, and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Join the Facebook group, chat with us on there, and we can keep the conversation going. So until next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.